Welcome back to day 10 of the 100 Horror Films in 31 Days. I got in three films today, and first up is a. I'm not sure you could classify this as a horror film, but it's Battle Royale 2000. This was a subset pick for the day on the DVD Talk Challenge, Horror Challenge, so kind of had to watch it. I don't mind watching it because I think it's a fun film. It's really good. Director Kenji Fukasaku, who did Tora Tora Tora, Battles Without Honor and Humanity. Not he doesn't get enough attention. He did some great stuff. Green Slime. He did the Green Slime, man. Anyway, this is a everybody knows this film. It's one of the most gory, bloody, uh, most dangerous game. If anybody knows that story, it's basically man hunting man. This time, the story is you've got a dystopian society in Japan where kids are basically taken to a island in a weaning process where they set up these kids to basically kill themselves to the point where there's only one left, and the one left gets to survive. Um, Bloody, gory, intense. I think one of the problems with this film, and it's really just for people like me, um, is, and some people, I'm not the only one that's going to complain about this, is it's hard to keep up with the characters, who is who. And honestly, at some point with this movie, I think you just need to watch it and enjoy the gore, the bloodbath, because character development and who is who really at the end of the day doesn't matter. It is. I know sometimes I've watched this and it was frustrating because I couldn't remember, well, what character is which. And at the end of the day, I just realized I guess it just doesn't matter. Just roll with it and enjoy the bloodbath. This edition, there's been multiple editions of this that have come out. This was a limited edition version that has the theatrical cut, the director's cut, and then a host of special features. One disc that's all but nothing but special features. There's actually four of these discs and a booklet. It's a pretty nice set. A little bit of overkill for one film, but what the heck, Arrow did a fantastic job. I give this an 8 out of 10. Kenji Fukasaku. Nice stuff. All right, next up, let me get my list here. The movies are starting to run together, guys, a little bit. All right, so we've got 1940s, The Mummy's Hand. Dick Foran stars in this one. And Tom Tyler dons the bandages in this one. And I thought he did a good job. This is a tongue-in-cheek comedy. I'm surprised 8 years later that they didn't treat the Mummy with more dignity that the Frankenstein series got. I mean, the next sequel could have at least had a more serious tone like the first one, but in this one we get 30 minutes of comedy and about 40 minutes of mummy action, basically. And I think the comedic routine between Babe, uh, Dick Foran, and who was the guy that played Babe, Wallace Ford. I think that comedic element to the film, it worked, I guess, when I was a kid. It doesn't work so much anymore. I just think it's now just comes off more as like padding. But essentially, you've got Wallace Ford and Dick Foran team up to discover the mummy. They're stuck in Egypt. They got no money, and they're trying to look for Egyptian artifacts so that they can make some money and get back home. And they, of course, run into Karis and George Zuko. I think George Zuko is the evil Egyptian high priest, is the kind of the highlight of the film. I thought he did a great job. I think Tom Tyler is fine as the mummy. Obviously he's not as good as what it been with Karloff, but hey, it's a fun, breezy watch. But like I say, I think now looking back on it, with rewatches, the comedic elements to this just really slow the movie down. It really just serves as padding, unfortunately, in my opinion. So I end up giving this one a 6 out of 10. I think. Yeah, 6 out of 10. This one just has not held up very well for us monster kids, but I still have a soft spot for the Mummy films. And then next up, one reason I like doing the October Horror Challenge is because I always inevitably run across something I haven't seen or didn't know about, or I'm totally surprised how good it is. There's always that one or two films that surprise me. So what happened was I was looking into the Graveyard Shift because I hadn't seen it. I'm talking about the 1990, the good one. And I come upon that there's other Graveyard Shifts. There's a movie made in '87, and then there was a sequel to that made. And so I thought, well, shit, why don't I check this out since I'm watching Graveyard Shift and see what it's all about. So, and you can watch this on YouTube, 1987's Graveyard Shift. This is a vampire film, totally different. Totally different. We're going down a totally different road here than the Rats, the Echo Horror Rats. But basically, you've got a night shift, a guy that drives a taxi on the night shift, and it turns out he's a vampire, and so he's stalking people and finding his prey at night while he's driving his taxi. And it turns out that he looks for people that are kind of got a suicide fetish. And those are the ones he goes after. And while this goes on, he ends up meeting this police female cop who falls in love with him. So it turns into sort of a semi-love story with this female cop trying to hunt him down to be with him. It plays a lot like, if you guys remember from the 80s and 90s, the Cinemax late night weekends, they call them Skinemax films. Plays like that, like softcore porn. The look of the film looks like a softcore porn Cinemax film. In fact, I think this was shot on video. This went direct to video, by the way. It didn't have a theatrical release. It's a Canadian film, and the production values are relatively low, but it does give you the 80s cheese, and honestly, it wasn't bad. I actually enjoyed it pretty for what it was. I mean, it wasn't horrible. I gave it a 5 out of 10. I mean, like I say, the acting, I think what you're going to get is, if you're familiar with late night Cinemax movies, you're going to get that kind of acting with that kind of look of the film. Dark, nightclubby looking with scantily clad women. But overall, I think it was okay. It was a decent film. I thought the acting was okay. It's not anything earth shattering. I gave it a 5 out of 10. It was directed by Jerry Saccotti, who he's a Canadian director. I don't think he did other things, but it doesn't really look like anything really much on the radar screen here. But yeah, 1987's Graveyard Shift, I give it a 5 out of 10. And I probably will go ahead and watch the sequel to that film just to say I've seen it at some point in October. At any rate, that is the end for day 10, and I appreciate you watching. Thanks.